Hello, welcome to Barbecue Elevated. My name is Scott. Today I'm going to show you how to make just a really tender, juicy, out of this world pork belly. So I made it today. This is my first time ever making one, but I really feel like I just knocked this one out of the park. Super tender, super juicy, super moist, pulls right apart. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what I did to make this. Here's the pork belly. This is my very first one that I've ever made, so I'm new to this. I know it's been a long time. It's something that I've wanted to make for a long time, just never have until now. I'm gonna go ahead and make one today, try it out, see how it goes. The pork belly that I've got, it has no skin. I've been told you want to try to get them with skin, that you need that skin to crispen. It's really good. Fortunately, I just wasn't able to find any with skin around me. So just got what I could find. Still kind of undecided on how I'm going to do this exactly. Not sure of how much I really want to trim on it. Not sure of if I want to wrap it or anything like. Really really just going off of feel, going off of what I think is going to be best. My gut tells me to kind of treat this a little bit like ribs, but also maybe a little bit like a pork, but at the same time. But the reason why I go to ribs is because if you understand the anatomy of a pig, you've got the top, you've got your back ribs, and you've got your spare ribs, and then underneath, spare ribs connecting to the pork belly, around to the other side, spare rib, back ribs. Kind of playing it off of the anatomy of the pig, disconnecting into the spare ribs tells me that maybe I should treat a little bit like spare ribs also. Anyways, gonna go ahead and just kind of get started. I feel like this portion over here is just fat and super thin. Probably not going to be great. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and cut this part off. Figure out something else I can do with that later. Maybe make some sausage or something like that. I think that's probably a good choice, cutting that off. I'm going to just flip it over and kind of look at this. There's quite a bit of fat right here. I don't want to cut too much fat off of this, understanding that this is also where bacon comes from, and the fat of the bacon also makes bacon what it is. I don't want to get too crazy, too aggressive with getting rid of fat, but at the same time, don't want a bunch of fat blocking the smoke for the meat. So I'm just going to kind of do what feels right. So just kind of looking at it, I think that really like right here, there's just like this big ball and chunk of fat. Never really going to render. Yeah, just fat. If it's fat that's not going to render, then why have it in my smoke? Just gonna increase our cook time by cooking fat that doesn't actually help, I don't think. In theory. We'll find out. Maybe I'll also kind of treat this a little bit like a brisket and just kind of trim until it feels good. Kind of try to make it a little bit of aerodynamics so that rendered fatty juices that want to run off, it's going to just kind of run off the back, not pool up, but also not ruin the bark. Both of which I feel like are important. Maybe we'll just kind of make some bacon lard or something out of that. All right, so right there is some meat up there, so I don't want to get too crazy there. Might be a mistake. If you guys see anything that I'm doing that you would say don't do that, feel free to comment. Really, I like all comments, but especially today. Today, this is my first time doing this. I'm not really going off of anything that I've done before. I read a lot of books, watch a lot of videos about barbecue in general, meat in general, and I'm just trying to apply just those general principles that I know. I'm going to round this off a little bit. What I did is either going to make this better or it's going to be much worse. That's to be determined when it's done. Flip it over, just kind of see how it looks down here. I feel like that just needs to come off. Loose hanging meat in general is just something that I don't like to have. I think I'm going to call that. Whenever I do something for the first time, I always kind of like to establish just kind of a baseline of do it the same way that I always do everything, and then I'm going to try it, and I'm going to see how it tastes and how it comes out, and then I adjust from there for the next time. That's what I'm doing today, just establishing a baseline of doing this the way that I feel like it should be done, the way that I would do any other meat, and then adjust for next time. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of seasoning on this thing. Because I'm treating it like spare ribs, I'm not going to over season this thing. I feel like there's already going to be a lot of flavor in the meat itself, natural flavor. Just going to do kind of a, for me, typical seasoning of ribs. I'm going to start again, go mustard, get it just a slather on it. And to be honest, at this point, I'm still kind of up in the air if I'm going to wrap this thing or not. How it's looking while it's in the smoker, I don't know. If it looks like it's starting to dry out quickly or dry too much, I may wrap it. If it's not looking that way, then I may just leave it. Depends upon the temperatures, but also I have no idea how long this thing's going to take. This thing might be done in like a couple hours, might take 10 hours, don't really know. I know that with all of this fat, it was about 7-pound pork belly. Right now, I would say it's probably closer to about 5 pounds. Going with my standard half kosher salt, half coarse ground black pepper. Just going with what I know, what I'm familiar with what I like, and then I'll adjust from there for next time. But this gives me that good baseline of typically do all of my meats, so this is how I'm going to do this one, and then compare to what I think it should be. Just lightly, not really lightly, but like regular amount of seasoning, not going to go crazy. Still going to hit the sides so we can get some kind of a bark out of this thing. One thing I will say that I am doing is I'm using half salt, half pepper, typically on my ribs. If I do salt and pepper, I use 1/3 part salt and 2/3 part black pepper. There is one difference here. This is kind of where I'm treating it a little bit like pork belly, where I'm going with half and half of each. All that good. Flip it over. Also, I'm inside today because it's freezing cold outside. It's like 20 degrees out there, and it's early in the morning. Trying not to freeze myself. Some of these sides that I didn't quite get from the bottom side. There it is. I'm happy with that. I think it's seasoned well enough. Gonna go ahead and throw it on the smoker. Gonna do this like how I normally do ribs. Start off with around 265 to 275 and go from there based on how it's kind of coming along, what the progress is, and how it's cooking. So I'm gonna get this in there now, and I'll show you guys when I check back in on it to kind of see progress of it.